What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and a good morning to all. Hopefully everyone is having a good start to their day. So, few things I want to talk about this morning, and one of them I'm going to be getting on my soapbox about. You guys know when it comes to the Dexter verse, Dexter franchise, whatever you're referring to it as, I'm referring to it as the Dexterverse. It just seems like we I have zero idea where they're going with this, what direction they're going with this, and even with this latest casting, I'm not sure if this was the right idea. And granted, we have no idea about the synopsis of this Dexter Resurrection. We don't have any idea where it's going to go, if it's going to pick up right from New Blood. Are we going to end up back in Miami somehow? But again, this latest casting doesn't make me feel any better about the series. So I want to talk about that. We do have an update, as you can see here on the screen, for Invader. We recently just covered this film just a couple of days ago. We did a trailer review on it because they did do a teaser trailer a while back. They finally released an official trailer. But now, as we mentioned, when we did that trailer review reaction for this film, we didn't have a date, a theatrical date, a POD date. We didn't know what direction they were going to go. But now we have that information, so I want to share that with you all. As I mentioned, we do have an update on a couple of other things on the Cape Fear TV series. If you didn't know, yes, they are doing a Cape Fear TV series based, I don't know if it's going to be solely based on the original film, but I do know from what I've heard thus far, it will be used as some level of source material. And then, surprisingly, we haven't heard anything about the BioShock movie, but we do have a brief update on that. Now, I do consider, I'm a fan of the BioShock video game series. It's probably one of my favorite video game series because of the future, the world of tomorrow, right? Aspect and theme that they use for the utopia underwater city that's created. And it's very 40s, very 50s themed. So I do gravitate towards that era. So I do love the video game series, but I do view it as science fiction horror. So I do want to cover off on that as well. So on this particular topic, and this will be a quick one because I want to spend more time on the next two topics, is Invader, Mickey Keaton's home invasion horror movie reaches theaters this month. So we've already done a trailer review and reaction on this. So if you want to see that, go check it out. It's up on our channel. Go find the playlist for trailer review and reactions, and you will find it there. But I just want to call out just quickly, as you can see here, releasing is planning a limited theatrical release that's scheduled for February 21st. Invader will then receive a digital release on March 25th. Now, if you watched yesterday's show, we did pull up the box office results for the past few weekends. Probably the last 2 weekends of January, first full weekend of February. And then we'll do it again this coming weekend or early next week to see if my theory is correct. So if you go back and look at three films in particular that have released this year, Werewolf, Companion, and Presence. So if you look at all three of those horror films, especially Werewolf was heavily marketed. We got a lot of news about that film leading up to it, and then when we finally got the film, it seemed like there was a divide amongst the horror community that many people liked it, many people did not like it, and it did feel on some levels it fell flat as far as them constantly trying to dip their toes into this monsters universe of the classic monsters in the horror genre. I'm impartial when it comes to the film. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just think it was an okay film. I would have liked to have seen the original concept and story for this film because, again, it was originally supposed to star Ryan Gosling, and the story for the film was supposed to be vastly different. If you don't know what that is, again, I think it's just one of those things you can easily Google and see what that story was. But they did change the story drastically once Ryan Gosling dipped out of the project, and then we got what we got, right? But where I'm going at with this is, especially as it relates to this release date schedule. It's going to hit select theaters on our limited theaters on the 21st, and then less than a month later, it's going to be on digital. Again, if you go look, hey, good morning, Our Life in Horror, how you doing? Um, yeah, I want to see Companion too. I have high hopes for Companion, but my concern is, again, like with what we're seeing with this date here for this release date in theaters and then digital. I'm wondering again if we're seeing a trend, and I see it with other films, but not as predominant as I do with horror films. Again, we're only a week and a half into February for 2025, but the first three films, major films that we've all been anticipating as horror fans to come into theaters, was Werewolf, Companion, Presence. You go look at those first weeks of those films releasing, they had decent weeks, but if you go look at the second week drops, they are drastic drops, anywhere between 60 and 70% drops, and they're very close as far as the amount of percentage drop and the number of theaters pulled from. And then you look at the third week, they're even bigger drops. Now, Werewolf was only in theaters for roughly 2.5, 3 weeks before it got pushed to digital. Now, I don't know, again, if that was part of the business model from the get-go, that they were only going to keep it there for that long, or because they saw such a large drop in the second and third weeks. Or the second week, they said, no, push it right to digital as fast as you can, try to recoup anything from rental fees or people who might just want to buy it outright before physical release. But the same thing happened to Companion. Same thing happened to Presence, and I have a feeling with Hard Eyes, it's the same thing is going to happen. Even though this weekend is supposed to be a big weekend for Hard Eyes, I do see it having a big drop because I think this one isn't getting the word of mouth I would have hoped it would have gotten for it being a specific holiday-focused slasher film. So again, I'm expecting Hard Eyes to probably have anywhere between a 55 to 65% drop and pull from theater numbers as well. And if that happens, looking at this one, which is not this film Invader, which has not been marketed, has not been advertised, has not really been anything except for what we find as us in the community across the spectrum of horror websites, YouTube channels, and things of that nature. This is a pretty quick turnaround to be pushing to digital. And again, I feel like the horror space is leaning into this a bit too much. I don't think horror films are getting enough time in theater. Now, if you look at Terrifier 3, now I don't know if Terrifier 3 was an anomaly because the cult following for that was so large, and that's what kept it in theaters for as long as it was out there. But again, I just don't understand it. So we have Our Life in Horror says a lot of boycotters for Heart of Eyes too. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I don't understand either. I mean, when I first saw the first teaser trailer for Hard Eyes, especially with the Frankie Valli song in the background, I was hooked. And then when we got the first official teaser, first full trailer, I was hooked even more, and I can't wait to see it. But hey, Talati, what's up, man? How you doing? I just don't understand the hate that the film's getting, especially when the vast of people in the horror community typically enjoy when we get some of these holiday specific themed horror films. And I thought it's been a while since we really had a big one that's been marketed, one that's really been pushed out there in the theaters. We have one, and now you have people out there boycotting it. So I think films like this, as the horror community, we need to get behind. Now, obviously, if there's some if there's a very specific, rationale or rhyme or reason as to why we're boycotting this, if there's something going on with some of the main actors or actresses, right, as far as real life events that warrant that, then yeah, I would get it. But I don't understand. Hey, what's up, little movie perp? Yeah, I was just mentioning when it comes to Hard Eyes, I have a feeling because we were looking at this film Invader, so we finally have some dates. The dates for this got released a couple days ago. Because when I did the trailer review on this, we didn't have dates yet for this, so we have dates now. So I wanted to touch on the dates, let the audience know if you're looking to see this film. It says limited theaters February 21st, but then POD or digital on March 25th. I was calling out Hard Eyes again because if you look at these dates here, they're very close, less than a month. And what we covered off on yesterday's video, I feel that we're going to be seeing a trend of horror films where we get the first week, you really don't have any numbers to go on, but that second week drop is usually, I'm seeing right now, of the 3 films we've gotten this year, 60 to 70%, and then it gets worse again the third week, especially for Werewolf. So I have a feeling, one, Hard Eyes is going to suffer this weekend. I have a feeling that it's going to have a big dip from the first weekend, and if it does, if Hard Eyes has a dip between again 55 to 65%, I could see them as soon as the holiday is over. They're gonna, within a week, announce its POD date, which I can see happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We could see Hard Eyes hitting digital. And this one here is just setting itself up, this film Invader, it's setting itself up already for that. Now, I am glad to see, though, that none of these films, like we have seen, are releasing in theater and POD on the same day. You all know my thoughts on that. I don't understand that business model whatsoever. I would think you'd want to get as much out of the theater as possible, but there might be a reason. Maybe theaters are charging too much to take up that space, and they'd rather just push it to digital. So anyways, I just want to touch on Invader again because, again, we have the release dates for the limited theatrical run and the POD. Now, I'm pulling out my soapbox now. So any of you who have watched any of my content, especially the Dexter content, I do a, it says and 3 showing, and 3 showings were sold out. You're referring to Hard Eyes. Yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah. In my area, it's like it is not being sold out at all. I mean, I checked my local theaters, even when it first came out, and throughout this week, especially for this coming weekend. There are some theaters, because I have 2 different theater companies. I have AMC and Harkins, literally within, I have 4 theaters, 2 AMC, 2 Harkins, probably within 4 miles of my house. And for Hard Eyes for this coming weekend, for both Friday and Saturday, it's like you have your choice of seating. There's nothing to worry about as far as seating goes. And that might just be because it's only Wednesday and people might wait until tomorrow to buy their tickets, or maybe even early Friday. But as of right now, you have your pick of the litter, so to speak, of the seats. There's nothing to worry about. So it's not selling out in my area. But back to this next topic, I'm going to pull out my soapbox. So we're going to talk about Dexter. So you all know I do, if you don't know, they have been doing Dexter Original Sin, and I've been doing a weekly episode breakdown and summary, my rating of that particular episode, and then my rating of the overall show as it stands at that point. I want to be clear, I enjoyed the original Dexter series, but I think, like many people and many fans of Dexter, especially the original series, I didn't necessarily enjoy the last season, and I wasn't a big fan of how the show ended. We got Dexter New Blood. We had a one and done season, and again, I thought it was okay. I didn't necessarily think it was needed, and once again, I wasn't happy with how it ended. And the whole purpose, we know that Clyde Phillips brought Dexter New Blood back, one, because they were trying to bank in on the Dexter character, but also to kind of right the wrong of how the show, the original series, ended. They messed it up again in New Blood, and now we've had all this time, then we got Dexter Original Sin. Now, spoilers, I mean, I can't imagine this is a spoiler because this week, the show ends, this Thursday or Friday, the episode 10 drops, and that's the final episode. So I'd imagine this isn't a big spoiler, but Dexter Original Sin, if you don't know, starts off where Dexter New Blood would have supposedly ended. Dexter's rushed to the hospital, they get him in the emergency room, and the next thing you know, we have like this, your life flashes before your eyes, and we are taking it back to the beginning of Original Sin, and now we're moving forward with Original Sin. I have a strong belief and theory that the way this show will end is we will now flash back into that emergency room, Dexter will be revived, and somehow that's where Dexter Resurrection is going to pick up. Now, two things I want to mention, as you can see from this topic. One, the Toxic Avenger. We covered off on this probably 2 weeks ago when this started coming back into the news, because this film had been done for a couple years. It never got its release. It's finally getting a release, and we knew it was coming this year. We just didn't know when. So one, the release date is now set for August 29th for the Toxic Avenger. I, for one, will not be seeing this. I have no interest personally in the Toxic Avenger. I never have. Even when we had the original film and the cartoon and all that, I mean, something I grew up with. I was never big into it then. And he's now, even as I gotten older and more into horror, I've never been little perp toxie. Yeah, I've never been big into this character. So I'm sure I will see it eventually. So, but I'm saying I'm not going to go see it, I'm not rushing to the theater to see it. I just won't. When it finally makes it to that point on my list of getting caught up on films, then I'll watch it. But otherwise, I am in no rush to see this. Second point for this article, as you can see, star Peter Dinklage joins Dexter Resurrection as series regular and villain. Series regular and villain. I'm going to say that a third time. Villain. So I've read through several articles of this, and this picture here is not from Dexter Resurrection. If you know what this picture is from, it's from the Toxic Avenger. But I've read through multiple articles, and if you didn't know already, Uma Thurman is also supposed to be in Dexter Resurrection as well. He's supposed to be playing a billionaire a billionaire philanthropist, and he's supposed to be this high level individual, has a lot of pull, but yet he's kind of like Dexter. He has like his day job, right, where Dexter was forensics, and then he has his night job where he's killing people. I've read several articles about this, and I'm concerned that I've seen that already. If it's similar, if he's playing a role again similar to Dexter's, where he has a day job and no one knows he's a killer, and then at night he's killing people, isn't that what Dexter does? He does forensics throughout the day, works cases, and at night he goes around killing people according to his code to feed his dark passenger. What new are you showing me here? Unless again, and we know, and if you didn't know, Uma Thurman is playing this character where a former special ops officer, Troy worked various high-level private security jobs before taking on her position at Prater's resourceful and meticulous right-hand woman. So I'm assuming she's going to be playing right-hand to Dinklage. So either she's going to be knowing about what he's doing, helping him in what he's doing, and Dexter's going to be facing off against both of them. And maybe they're the two. Peter and Uma's characters are the catalyst for the broader story of this series. Now, we don't know if this is going to be a one and done as well, but I'd imagine it's going to be probably 10 episodes. And if they're serving as the broader story aspect where through the whole 10 episodes, Dexter's trying to track down who's ever committing these murders, while at the same time working just the every episode random case, again, haven't we seen this already? Haven't we seen this almost in every episode, every series of the original Dexter series, or every season? I mean, Ice Truck Killer, Trinity Killer. I mean, how many more times I think can you rinse and repeat this same formula? I'm not sold on this yet. I wasn't even sold on the original Sin series. I'm still not. And we're going into the finale. I think up until episode 8, when when they had they finally brought up Tony's arm from the swamp. They still never found Nurse Mary's earrings that were thrown in the same swamp, which I thought that was a complete misstep in the story of Original Sin. That was Dexter's first kill in Original Sin. I thought the fact that he took that trophy and then threw him in the same swamp that he was disposing of bodies in, you're already searching that area. I'm surprised they didn't play on that as well, on top of finding Tony's arm, which somehow, some way Dexter got out of that fairly quickly by allowing an alligator to take it or giving it to an alligator. So I'm not sold on I feel like we're going to get a few more casting updates on Dexter Resurrection. Again, Uma was one of the first ones outside of, we knew Michael C. Hall was coming back. We do know that, as you can see here, David Zayas is coming back for Batista, and Jack Alcott is coming back for Harrison, and then James for Harry. There's no mention of Masuka's character. We know LaGuerta is dead. Deborah is dead. Now, we don't know if we're going to potentially see Deborah in any more flashbacks or hallucinations. We don't know if we're going to see that. So, little movie purposes here. Would you be down for a Dexter Elseworld where Dexter faces famous movie and literature serial killers? Is that a hook for Dexter fans? I think that would be. How would you So if we think about, let's jump into the Dexter world, so to speak. Okay, so if we are living in Dexter's world, let's say, if Michael Myers, because you're saying here Elseworld where Dexter faces famous movies, so that would have to imply that in that world, that Elseworld where Dexter is at, that for example like Michael Myers doesn't, like in the Halloween movies, don't exist, and he's living within the Halloween world, so to speak, because you couldn't have necessarily it go the other way, because in Dexter's world you would assume that movies like the movie Halloween would exist, and unless you had some supernatural force where Michael Myers comes out of the movie to fight Dexter, or vice versa, I think that would be going too much almost into the, not want to say spoof, but too unbelievable for a film. Now again, I know that you're leaning on the Elseworld aspect. I think it would have to be the former, where Dexter is within the world of, let's say, Halloween, like he's in Haddonfield, so to speak, and Michael Myers is a true killer that he's trying to track. So it's not necessarily we're in Dexter's world. So sure, Dexter in London 1899 versus Jack the Ripper. I don't know, man. I think my money would be on Jack the Ripper. I think, I mean, if you've ever seen, I'm sure you have, like From Hell with Johnny Depp. I think that was just, it wasn't specifically focused on them telling you that that was Jack the Ripper. It was just something that it was implied that this is about Jack the Ripper. Obviously, one of the most infamous serial killers, never caught, very much like Zodiac, never caught, even though I do believe, side note, not to get off topic, but I think we do know who Zodiac was. And if you haven't seen the, I think it's 4 episode, This is the Zodiac on Netflix. This documentary series just released maybe a month ago, and it leans into one of the main suspects that was believed to have been the Zodiac. Highly recommend you check it out. They're only like 48-minute episodes, but they're definitely worth watching, especially if you're a fan of the 2007, I think, 2006, 2007 Zodiac film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. So check that out. Check the series out on Netflix if you haven't. Again, it's well worth a watch. But going back to the Dexter thing, let's see here. Yeah, see, I know that they just started production on this Resurrection series a month ago, and then we're just now getting this bit of information on additional casting. I'd imagine since the series isn't coming out until I think July, we should expect to get a bit more casting. I would say between now, end of March, we'll probably get our first teaser, April, and then I think from that point forward, we're just going to get nonstop as far as marketing for this, because I think they didn't market Original Sin that well. I think it was just a matter of going on various websites that cover this particular show and topic that people found out about it. Otherwise, unless you're on Showtime, which I don't know if many people are still anymore, you wouldn't have seen anything coming up saying, hey, coming soon, Dexter Original Sin. I only found out about it because I just happened to have Paramount Plus, and I just saw it as a upcoming series. Didn't know anything about it, hadn't heard anything about it, so I thought, hey, this might be something good to watch and cover. And I'll do the same thing with Dexter Resurrection, but the question still remains is, one, is the series really even needed? And two, is Peter Dinklage really the right casting to play the main villain for this, along with his now confirmed right hand Uma Thurman? So I would be interested. Yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I'm not even sure after this what appetite there's going to be for more Dexter. If this one doesn't pan off, I would say they need to kind of just close the book on the whole Dexter verse, so to speak, and move on from it, because I mean, at some point, Michael C. Hall isn't going to be a very convincing Dexter if you don't have large time jumps. Oh, and reminder, we are still supposed to be getting the Dexter Trinity series, which is another prequel series with John Lithgow doing the talkover like Michael C. Hall does for his younger version in Original Sin. John Lithgow will be doing the talkover for his younger version in this Trinity prequel series where we're following the Trinity Killer. I mean, do we really need to follow that? Otherwise, why aren't you creating? Why wouldn't you start off with the Ice Truck Killer? Why not start off with Brian Moser, Dexter's brother? I mean, we already got to see his first kills, some of his first kills in episode 9 of Dexter Original Sin. Why wouldn't you just continue that story for Brian Moser all the way up until you got to the point in the timeline of Dexter season 1 when he was known as the Ice Truck Killer? I mean, that would have made more logical sense to me than moving on with the Trinity Killer with John Lithgow. And maybe they're just they're trying to bank on John Lithgow's name. But I'm not really interested in seeing a prequel series of the Trinity Killer, but I wasn't really interested in seeing Original Sin either. So more to come on Dexterverse. Again, Peter Dinklage is going to be a series regular and the main villain for Resurrection that will come out in July. So moving on for our next topic, and we covered off on this when Javier Bardem was originally announced and casted for the let me get rid of this ad here, for the Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg executive produced the 10 episode series for Apple TV, which is the Cape Fear series. So now we have confirmation that Amy Adams will now be joining the cast. As you see here, she's joined the cast of Apple TV's upcoming Cape Fear series alongside star Javier Bardem. And yeah, so it's going to be a 10 episode series described as a tense Hitchcockian thriller and an examination of America's obsession with true crime in the 21st century. So I can see, I mean, definitely going to be a bit of a different take. And the fact that they're doing 10 episodes, so you're going to expect probably the first episode being a little bit over an hour. Then we're probably going to move to like 48-minute episodes to 52-minute episodes. So you figure you're getting 10. It's going to, I can imagine we're going to get a lot of fluff episodes around episodes 4 and 5 of this, especially if you're looking back at the fact that it's based on both John D. McDonald's novel and the 1991 remake of the original 1962 Cape Fear. I mean, you're taking that content and trying to stretch it out to 10 episodes. I think this might have been better off more as a mini-series versus 10 episodes, but maybe that's me. And the fact that, as you see here, this has been in limbo since, as it says here, since 2023, and that's been when it was greenlit, and we're just now getting to it. I'm curious if this one will even be a success in itself. The fact that Scorsese and Spielberg are attaching themselves to it might help it a bit. If they're the fact that they're going to be executive producers might help steer this series in the right direction. But I don't see this going beyond the 10 episode one and done series. Again, it feels like we're getting a lot of one and dones here. And I know you keep hearing me say that over and over again, but I don't know where you go I don't know where you go once you use up these 10 episodes, which I don't feel the source material gives you enough to stretch it out that far. And once you've met that 10 episode marker, unless you just start now going off and creating a new story from here, I think that's where you lose your hardcore fan base that loves the original content and say, well, this really doesn't stay true to the Cape Fear aspects, story, characters, whatever you want to call it. And then you start to get people who check out. But there are also some, in my opinion, some TV series that run too long and should have been canceled much sooner. And I won't say this definitively, but I feel there are a number of horror shows that have probably run their course that I'm a fan of, like American Horror Story. I think that one is in its at least 12 that I can remember. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I think at least 12 different seasons on that. I think the only thing that's kept that show somewhat going and relevant and interesting is each season, even though you have the same actors involved, and they do tie some seasons back to others. For the majority of that show, each season is a different theme, it's a different story, as it pertains to the broader universe of American Horror Story. That's what's kept that going. Now, do I think it should be going this long? No, I don't. And I don't think Cape Fear is going to go beyond 10 episodes because the source material just isn't there to support it. So yeah, I mean, that's all we have on this. Again, I just wanted to share the casting update on this because we have been tracking this one as far as casting, and hopefully we will get something as far as start dates, release dates, anything to do with production we've been tracking on. So that's where we're at with this one. Amy Adams and Javier Bardem will be starring in the Cape Fear series. All right, so the last topic I wanted to cover off on this morning's episode is the BioShock movie just got a great update from director Francis Lawrence. Now, as you can see here, what this is on Collider. So if you want to go check out this article, it was just put up there late last night. I'm not going to read through this line by line, but if you are a fan of BioShock the game and the fact that this was supposed to become first it was no, it was supposed to be a TV series. Then they pulled back off that. Then they said they were actually going to make a film about it, and that's where it's been left off on. And it's been sitting in development for countless years, but as you can see here, Lawrence has confirmed to Collider that he is still fully on board and that the adaptation is continuing to move forward. So I bring this topic up, and you might be wondering, how is this horror related? I find this as more leaning on and leaning into the science fiction horror aspect or subgenre. So I am excited for this because, again, I'm a big fan of the games, especially the first couple of games where you are in the underwater utopia world. It's leaning into that world of tomorrow aspect of trying to make the 50s and early 60s look very futuristic. So I do enjoy that aspect of it, and the music the score, the song choices that they use for this video game are, in my opinion, some of my favorites when it comes to video games. So I am still looking very much forward to this coming to light, us finally getting into it. Yeah, a little movie perp. I'm excited for this one as well. I think the only other video game adaptation which isn't horror that has been sitting in limbo just as long as this one has been Netflix Assassin's Creed TV series that has been in talks for years but has still not gone anywhere. But every few months they'll throw out an advertisement indicating that it's still coming. But again, nothing like this where you have someone coming out that's, like the director is coming out saying, no, I'm still fully invested. We're still moving forward. We're going to get this done. So I'm very much looking forward to this. So I just wanted to share a quick update for any BioShock fans, especially from a video game perspective, but also the fact that I view this as science fiction horror, which, it is a subgenre of horror that we do cover. We don't cover it a lot because there isn't a lot of it, in my opinion, that has come up recently. Now, we have had a bit of that in the past. Like, I do view, like, Alien and Aliens as science fiction horror. That would be another example I would give. And I feel this kind of falls in that same umbrella. So, anyways. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this morning's show. I just want to say a quick thank you to all those in the chat and all those who joined in. And, whether you joined in for a few minutes, whether you joined in for the entire show, I just want to say a quick thank you for all the support. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We are closing in on 500 subscribers. So, it is greatly appreciated to all those who have subscribed. But if you haven't done so already, please do so. And again, drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about the topics. I would be especially interested in hearing from anybody who wants to comment on the entire Dexterverse. What do you think about Peter and Uma, now joining in as primary characters and Peter being the villain of Dexter Resurrection? I wouldn't, if you could have given me a million guesses, and I probably never would have picked Peter Dinklage as being the main villain. Right, so for Dexter Resurrection, but we'll see. Obviously I'll still give it a chance. Like I've said, I will give any horror movie, any TV series, and even any movie in general or TV series an opportunity to win me over. Even though I am, a bit on the fence with this casting, I'll still give it a chance to win me over and prove me wrong. So. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for the show. Again, thank you for all those who jumped in the chat and jumped in and participated. It's greatly appreciated. And we will see you at the next one. Peace.